Todd. Chalk Todd. Chalk Todd or Chuck Todd?
It's gotta suck
Chuck.
to be Chuck. Now that he's no longer sitting on his comfortable perch at NBC, Chuck Todd has come to the stunning conclusion that the legacy media was in on the Biden cover-up. Roll
You
it,
don't
Lars.
think?
Look, we were subtle. He's using the back staircase. He's not using the front staircase. Hey, he's not doing any interviews. So there was this reluctance to draw the conclusion to say, is he not doing this? And that I agree with. That was held back a lot. The only thing I can chalk it up to is
Fire
this,
Marshal Bowman?
whatever you want to call it, this fear that some members of the media had sometimes that they would be perceived as helping Trump if they somehow diminished Biden, right? That it was some sort of zero-sum game. And I think this has been the fundamental mistake that many members of the traditional press have done.
So you catch that? The media was subtle in how they reported Biden's
He was in it.
decline. Subtle is not the word.
He was
How
the one-
about derelict? Sorry, Chuck. Subtle is offering your drunk friend a glass of water. Instead, you saw the Biden Mets and said, another round of shots. But he's right. The press didn't report the truth about Joe because they were afraid that would have helped Trump. But, Chuck, you are the press. And the fear of helping Trump was your doing. I seem to remember your dependable mockery if anyone appeared to say something favorable about Trump. So listening to Chuck talk about how members of the media wrongly protected Biden, it's like hearing a Menendez brother complain that he's an orphan. Chuck's trying to pretend he wasn't part of the problem. Like when I blame my browsing history on my twin brother, Garth.
Look at a mustache.
So, Julie, we're seeing this kind of weird thing where these the worst offenders suddenly become the whistleblower.
Yeah.
But you can only blow the whistle during the play. You know, not months or a year or two later. You can't suddenly be the whistleblower. You should have been blowing your damn...
Yeah, okay, before we get to Banderas, it's because they realized, right, especially, and I mean, I've seen this. I mean, look at Gavin Newsom. You know, he's trying to distance himself from the Democrat that fought Trump, that ran against Trump. You know, he's trying to distance himself. And I think Chuck Todd that's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to play that, you know, that all of a sudden he got this, you know, woke up and saying that, well, wait a minute, the media was wrong. But then again, he is the media. Oh, he was one of the, you know, top 5 that, you know, and critical of Trump and protecting Biden. Okay, go back to Banderas.
Whistle while it was happening.
You call them derelicts, I just call them stupid. And you know what they did, though, is they did the Republicans a favor because they thought they were shooting Trump in the foot. They shot themselves in the foot because by putting down Trump and lifting up Biden, guess who else you lifted up? Kamala freaking Harris. How stupid could you possibly be? And they lost the White House because of their stupidity. So you know what? You get what you
there's some
for.
Flying, you know, multiple layers on the
And
why
I
they
know
lost.
stupid.
Yeah. Yeah, we won't get into that.
But mainly Trump.
Were you too hard on the media?
No. And as far as blowing your own whistle is concerned, Greg, that's how I hurt my back.
Oh, dude. Oh, man.
No.
I don't get that, Jim.
We really don't hate them enough. That is a stunning admission by him, even though he didn't say it right, and maybe, he should have said it soon. The fact that he said it is staggering. They've become so bad. I don't know when people realize. To me, like, I have a hatred of that Sullivan versus New York Times decision, which I think gave the media free range to screw up as much as they wanted without being sued. You have to prove actual malice. It's just, they're disgusting. And it's nice to hear somebody at least saying what we already knew. But I don't know why I still get mad about it.
I think it's because they're still not saying I was part of it. And It's not a conspiracy, but you don't need a conspiracy if you all agree.
That's right.
You know, you don't have to hide it. What say you, Emily?
Well, I feel like the tone that these people have right now, it's so cavalier. And it's a sort of, fine, I'm in the electrical chair and I'll yes, I murdered 100 million people after we've wasted $6 billion on your death row and on your trial. Like, it was so much bigger than that. It's so much more consequential. It was so much more constructed and manufactured, and they are making it sound like they got caught up in the whim of the moment. It was subtle. You had 8 visits from a Parkinson's specialist from Walter Reed in 9 months. You wrote it off. You demonized and said President Trump's mental acuity, and you're trying to tell me that, yep, in hindsight, in the post-mortem, yeah, we did a little bit. It is so much more important than that, and I think it truly led to deaths of Americans, because propping up that particular commander-in-chief was so damaging, was so destructive to America. So I can't wait for the accountability. This fine, step one, go to your AA meeting. But the accountability from Congress is what I'm looking forward to, and hopefully criminal repercussions.
Yeah, it's fun.
Ooh. I mean, it all boils down to, like, Chuck, when you're looking at Chuck, Todd, and all this media personals, it's all about, like, jumping the bandwagon kind of stuff, They know that. Oh, look at the good example with who was that left wing? Young Turks, Young Turks, and all of them. They just somehow switching to the middle, criticizing all the Democrats, criticizing Kamala Harris and all of that, and they know that. I mean, their ratings went up, and they know that. So it's opportunist. That's what the word I was looking for. They're just, they see this opportunity, just like this guy that wrote a book about Biden's, time in the White House and all of that, and kind of a shining light on him. It's kind of too late, man.
I can't recall a single time Chuck Todd actually stood up and shared the risk for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, he played every bit of role of this as anybody else.
Yeah, he should be throwing a card on himself.
Yeah.
As the head of the Environmental Protection Agency, I should be talking about all this noise pollution that is a big hazard for so many other Americans the few Americans who actually tune into it. I announced this big regulatory rollback about a month ago, and it's the largest deregulation effort in the history of the country. But I'm basically rolling back primarily stuff from 2023 and 2024.
Yeah, Biden.
And they respond by showing pictures of water from like the 60s.
Yes.
And they're like, if we get rid of these regulations from like a year ago, that we're immediately going back to water quality from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, and also those what do you call that? What is it, like that turtle with the plastic thing caught in there around their neck? Oh no, this is the turtle with the straw actually in the through the nose of that turtle. And then there was a a picture of like a bird covered in oil. That's what they Luscious Z
And
saying.
I think for the average person who's out there watching it, they're throwing up their own flag, and that's why their ratings are in the tank. And everyone's tuning
Always
into
been.
Gutfeld every night, 10 o'clock.
Yes. Lusciously. Lusciously.
Oh, man.
Make it stick.
Lusciously.
Lusciously.
It just rolls off the tongue. Up next, Cackling Cam. Just can't quit.
All right. So this is the third segment then. We'll see you on the other side.